One of these plants cost me a small fortune, and it was highly disappointing. Another was dirt cheap, and I got it as a bit of an impulse buy, and it's possibly one of my favorite plants now. After thousands of plants that I have owned in my recent collecting history, I don't currently have thousands of plants, I've got hundreds of plants now, but over the years, I've come to learn that a lot of kind of deeply rooted kind of beliefs that I had were incorrect. Hi, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me, it's tropical houseplants. So yes, today I thought I'd pick you up, walk you around my collection and tell you about a few of the plants that surprised me and possibly changed some of my opinions over the months or years. As I said in the beginning, there's certain plants that I spent a large amount of money for me, and they were hugely underwhelming. But then there was others that I just really wasn't expecting, and I'm just like, you know what, you look pretty, let me put you in the basket and see what happens, and they're now some of my favorite plants. And I think there's value in us kind of looking at how certain plants, or how growing certain plants more specifically, can help change our deeply rooted beliefs or kind of thoughts on certain plant suitability for us or our space. One of the plants that was on the expensive side, not one that I personally spent a lot of money on, but I know a lot of people have spent a lot of money on these plants. You might be able to see right behind me here, in between other foliage, and I'll kind of move things around, the Queen Anthurium. Anybody had any bets that I was going to start with this one? And I mean, to be fair, I have spoken about this before on my channel, but it is one of those plants that I'm just like, you know what, there's a hype, everybody's talking about this. Let's see what it's all about. Maybe I'm not realizing what the thing is. Let's see if we can spend some money and see how this plant is going to do in my space. I'm going to say it with my whole chest. I'm not impressed. I know that is just my personal opinion, and I know certain people will disagree, and this is just a video on my opinions. You can share yours down below. But yeah, this plant just wasn't it for me. For how much it was costing, I know it's considerably gone down in price, as with a lot of these plants actually in my collection now, but I'm talking about when I first got this. I mean, yes, I get the velvetiness. In my experience, it can be temperamental, it doesn't grow particularly fast, it definitely needs the higher levels of humidity that even this space can provide. And I mean, bear that in mind. I am growing this in a conservatory with near ideal conditions for large chunks of the year, and it's still not great. That should tell you something in terms of what my opinions are on this plant. So unfortunately, massively underwhelming, and realistically, I should have saved my money. And how about another plant here that was an expensive purchase? And I know this has been an expensive purchase for a lot of people. Again, how many of you guessed that the melanochrysum was going to be on here? So the Philodendron melanochrysum. And I mean, to be fair, you can see it against my arm. A lot of the leaves on this plant, and I'm kind of turning it around because it's facing the other window. I've also got a leaf on top of my head, so please ignore that. But as I always say, this is the jungle for the plants. I am just an occasional visitor in here. But yes, this plant is one that, again, it's that velvetiness. And some of you might be sitting there going, Memo, you just don't like velvety plants. You're poo-pooing on all the velvety plants. No, I've got velvety plants that I really quite enjoy growing. But this, I don't know whether or not I need to explain to a lot of people, can be temperamental. It definitely needs a bit of a moss pole to grow comfortably, especially if you want it to size up. Otherwise, you've got a glorified Micans. And for the prices that this one was going for, you might as well be buying a Micans. A Micans is less temperamental, and at least you know what you're getting into with a Micans. The Philodendron melanochrysum, or the now known by a lot of people as melanochrysum, just really wasn't worth it in the end. Another plant that was exceptionally expensive when it first came out because there was such a buzz around it, and a shock horror to nobody that I'm going to bring this up, and I do not have this anymore. How many times have I poo-pooed on this plant? The Philodendron lupinum. There are not a lot of things in my life where I would say I would like to go and visit my past self and slap some sense into me. Because I believe that a lot of the times, even when we make mistakes, they teach us things. That is true 99.9% of the time in my life. I have regrets, but I don't necessarily wish I could change those things because they led me to where I am now. The lupinum is one of those few situations that it's an exception. I would like to go and slap myself and just go, stop it, put it down, do not spend that money. It is not worth it. Do not fall for the hype because this plant will do nothing. Because it did nothing. Don't get me wrong, there are versions of this plant. I think I've seen this on the Ecogenera site now, and I think they are selling the mature form of this plant, which is still okay. It's got that kind of almost T-shaped leaves or the bunny ears, like, it's a thing. There are other plants that look like that. The whole gimmick on the lupinum was the fact that it transformed so much from a juvenile leaf and it looked entirely different as a mature plant. But I think we all fell for the hype on that one, and we all spent a lot of money for not very much results. So lupinum, no. Right, and let me bring you down so you can see another plant. So this is what I purchased, and I know a lot of people have said this might not be what that plant is, but I will tell you what I purchased it as. And this is the Anthurium pendens, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I think that is the Anthurium pendens. And it's okay. You can see that these things are getting slightly softer rather than that. I hate these first three plants that I'm going to show you, and I shouldn't have kind of spent time or money trying to grow them. This one is okay. It's a strappy leaf Anthurium, and a strappy leaf Anthurium is a strappy leaf Anthurium. By and large, most of them aren't massively problematic. This is slow. This doesn't do very much. It kind of leans very similar to the Veitchii, which I know a lot of people are just like, are you sure you don't have a Veitchii? I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking at my Veitchii and it does look slightly different than this one. And that's what's giving me pause. If it looked entirely different, I would say it with my whole chest and just go, no, no, I think this is what I bought and I think it was correctly kind of labeled. This one, I'm not entirely sure because it does grow a bit like my Veitchii. And let me show you the Veitchii so you can kind of compare. So you can see here, that's the Veitchii. And I mean, obviously this is a much more large and established plant, and I've had this in my collection for years. And you might sit there and go, yes, that is very, very similar. So I do not know. But this is another one that I'm just like, do I fully regret it? Did I think I was going to love it? I don't know. This was an impulse purchase, and it's interesting because this is one of the few impulse purchases that I'm just a bit like, oh, it did okay, it did okay, it didn't do great, but it's okay. I mean, it's slow, it doesn't give me an awful lot of trouble, but does it excite me? Does it set my world on fire? Probably not. So I had to add this onto the list. The next plant, again, I will add a picture here. There is zero way of me being able to show you this easily. Actually, let me see if I can just do a quick turn of the camera and see if we can kind of see what it looks like, just really briefly. There you go, and apologies for the mess, but you can kind of see the plant that I'm talking about there. That's the one with the green paddly leaves, the Rhaphidophora hongkongensis. And the reality with the plants, and I'll see if I can put a picture here so you can kind of look at what I am kind of talking about. This was one that surprised me. This is the one that I was kind of hearkening on at the beginning of the video, which was cheap. I don't think it was massively expensive. It's definitely not massively expensive anymore. This is one I had never heard of before, and I was just like, whoops, it fell into my basket. People have heard me talk about the Rhaphidophora hongkongensis before, and they'll know where I'm going with this because, and I did get it For the people that are in the UK, I don't know other parts of the world where you might be able to find it. I got it from Grow Tropicals. I know at some point they had a variegated form of that, and I've been meaning to give it a try, but I haven't got round to it just yet. They occasionally still, I think, bring in the green form, or they're propagating it themselves. I'm not surprised if they are propagating themselves, because this thing grows like a weed in this space. But it was a plant that it's still kind of uneventful. It's kind of green, it's got paddly-ish leaves. It's about the size of my palm-ish at this point, some of the largest leaves. They're leathery. It's nothing exciting. It surprised me though, because it's such a tenacious grower and such a vigorous grower. I would almost put it up there with a pothos. And to me, it still looks a bit more interesting than a pothos. A pothos has been around for so long. I don't know. I don't want to poo-poo on a pothos, because everybody loves a pothos. I love a good like epipremnum plant as well. But because it's become so quintessentially everywhere, we grew up seeing it in people's houses, your aunts, your uncles, your family members, your friends, TV, movies, it's usually somewhere in the background. It's become a thing that is just kind of there, and it's less exciting, or maybe it doesn't, at least in my head, it doesn't read as inherently, oh, that's a tropical plant. The hongkongensis for me, in the way that it grows, tends to read more tropical plant and a bit more interesting than just another pothos, if that makes sense. So it had to make this list, because it was just one of those things that it was just a bit like, okay, this is something I'm paying attention to, and it's been super easy to care for. As I said, I've mentioned this before. This is a plant that has featured in pretty much most of my videos when I talk about my feral plants in my space. I just kind of let them do what they want to do, and I'll link the most recent of those videos at the top so you can see it if you haven't yet. And I'm looking already now at another plant that changed my opinion, really did. And that's this beauty here, basically. This is the Alocasia Lukiwan. And it is a hybrid. I'll put the name of how it's hybridized on the top there. But this is a plant that I've mentioned this before, because this is a Lukiwan, or a Luki 2 basically. So this is a replacement of one that didn't make it through the winter. So you know me, warts and all. My first one did not make it through the winter, and that was one that came in as a gift with a Grow Tropicals order that I did. Because I enjoyed growing it as much as I had, this year, when they had it back in stock, I'm just like, ooh, I'm going to get one to replace it. And it's doing great. I mean, look at those leaves. Look at those leaves. They look almost prehistoric. And the interesting thing about the Lukiwan was that it's a plant where I'd kind of almost started to, not necessarily give up, but spend less time, money, and effort dealing with Alocasias. So that surprised me in the sense, and it changed my opinion, when I'm just like, oh, no, I still think I've got a little bit of a soft spot for Alocasias. I really do. I mean, the other reality with Alocasias isn't necessarily that I find all of them difficult, and I know they can be quite a challenging plant for everybody. But I tend to do much better with the Alocasias that grow into kind of like mini trees or bushes, rather than the dual Alocasias, which you get more of these days. Watch me. One of the things that I do want to try again, because I have not had one in years, and I had such great experiences with, was the Alocasia cuprea, the one that really looks like an alien to me. You cannot get over the fact that a lot of Alocasia species, the leaves just look exceptionally interesting, exceptionally interesting. But yes, the Lukiwan was one that changed my opinion. Wasn't one that I was ever planning to get. It wasn't a whoops, it fell into my basket. It was a, here's something free because you did an order, like it or don't like it. And it surprised me. It surprised me to the point where I actually, when my other one failed, I replaced it quite happily without blinking a second time. So that should tell you something. Shall we talk about a plant that didn't change my opinion in any way or form? As in, like, what my belief was still remains. The Anthurium veitchii behind me. And for the people, for the true OGs, the ones that have been around the channel almost since its inception, I don't know how many are still around, this I had as a little seedling. I got as a little seedling. Oh, I'm trying to remember. It wasn't Eastern Tropicals. It wasn't from Sarah. It was from Carl at Turnit Tropical. China tropical doesn't exist in the form that it used to during the pandemic anymore. But this is one that he managed to get in. He was a local, I want to say grower. He wasn't a grower. He was just a retailer, basically. He had an online shop during the pandemic. He still occasionally sold some plants before then, but it got really busy because he had a landscaping company, which I think he went back to now. Carl's one of the nicest people. There's so many planty people around where I live, especially for tropical plants. Surprising for Norfolk in the UK. But yeah, and he bought a whole slew of them in as little seedlings, and a lot of people purchased them. A lot of people's plants did not make it through. Mine did, thankfully. I had it in case anybody was wondering, and I was wondering what I did differently from a lot of people, but I had that on a heat mat for a very long period of time. And I've tested heat mats on with other seedlings that I've had for Anthuriums, and it's done really well this winter. That's a whole different video that I did on heat mats, and again, I'll link it at the top there, but it's a tricky one and it could go horribly wrong. So be careful before you try anything like that. But my original belief for the veitchii was that it looked better than the Queen Anthurium. And I'll show you the Queen Anthurium again. Has my opinion changed? Absolutely not. Still enjoy this one a lot more. And I know it can take a while to get it to that size, but well worth the wait with this plant, because that's given me an awful lot less drama than this plant has, which is the Queen Anthurium. So I know it's not for everybody, and I think some people get freaked out by the kind of ripples or kind of abs on this. I really like it. I really enjoy it. And it's interesting how a lot of my opinions about certain plants might change over the years, especially when it comes to appearance, when I start taking into consideration vigor of growth, ease of growth as well. So it's really interesting how my opinions will change. And I keep saying my opinions. I will encourage all of you in this video to tell me what opinions you've had and how it's changed based on certain plants that you've owned in your collection. But I think when we all start off, and possibly even much later, we tend to buy things, we're all visual people basically, we tend to buy things based on how they look. And a lot of the times, something that might look beautiful, because don't get me wrong, I can kind of see why people like the Queen Anthurium. I'm not poo-pooing on it that much, I promise. It is one of those things that a lot of people find attractive, and you are attracted to something because it looks interesting or it looks beautiful to you. But there is something to be said about longevity as well, and ease, because the veitchii behind me is right there, is one that isn't possibly as attractive as the Queen Anthurium to a lot of people, but super easy as long as you get it to a certain size. Super easy, sizes up beautifully, doesn't have a lot of pest issues, doesn't have a lot of needs for high levels of humidity. And it's interesting how your opinion about something changes. To just kind of go, I value that plant more now because it's easy, because it's faster, because it doesn't give me any grief. And the ones that I originally went, oh, look, it's beautiful, and then they die. And I've got a slew of those kind of examples. So for instance, the Scindapsus trebii, I only ever got the silver form instead of the dark form, but I know the dark form is even harder. That died super quickly. I really wanted, and it's funny how all of these are darker plants. The ZZ Raven, I have never been able to grow the ZZ generally particularly happily, let alone the ZZ Raven, although I am proving myself wrong at this point. I'm giving it a lot more light than what I used to, and it's doing better. But there are a lot of these plants that you end up getting and just going, oh, I made a mistake. Or, oh, I got this, not expecting very much, but I think I'm in love now. And it's interesting because, at least in my experience, I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are on this topic. But in my opinion, it tends to be plants that surprised you, like maybe they changed in the way that they kind of matured, or They were super easy. They didn't need damn moss poles. They didn't need like loads of pest control. They didn't need like constant humidity. And all of a sudden, like months or even years later, you're just like, oh, you are my babies. You are my babies. I love you so much. Because they're not problem children. I will say that there's going to be a lot of people that love their problem children because it gives them a project, it gives them something to do. There is nothing wrong with that. I'm trying to think, there is at least one example that I can give of that for me. I'm trying to find examples that I have in my space right now, and I don't think I can find any currently. Possibly the Alocasia silver dragon, let me show you, because it struggled the mostest. Remember what I was talking about before with dual Alocasias? It struggled the mostest, and it gave me a project. I'm just like, no, I will get you to love me and I will get you to be happy, because I have had silver dragons before and they've done great. I've also had the traditional kind of green dragon Alocasia, the beginners, Alocasia beginners, technically the correct botanical name, and I've grown them okay. And actually it's interesting because the Alocasia beginner, the green form, and I think I've got it, let me show you what it looks like now. It is the saddest thing in existence. And there's obviously a yellowing leaf. The people that have watched my recent Alocasia video will know why I'm keeping the yellow leaf on there. But this has now got mealybugs on it. I need to treat the mealybugs. I'm also trialing the method that everybody keeps going on about, the closed vessel method. I don't have any closed vessels, and that also makes me a bit nervous. So I'm using the cashpo as a bit of a water reservoir. There is the leca at the bottom. And instead of sphagnum moss, I'm trying it with tree fern fiber to see how it's going. And it's actually already pushing out new leaves. So I will keep you posted on how that's doing. But this is one that I probably should try again from scratch, because I've owned this specific plant 6 or 7 years now. It was much bigger and could not get it happy in the beginning and has never really truly bounced back since then. This is a more than 5 or 6 year project at a minimum, and it's still doing the most. I should just give up on this and try getting a new one and starting from scratch and see if I can keep it happy from a better place coming in from the growers. But this is my project. This is my project, and I've enjoyed dealing with it, if that makes sense. It's never really given me too much grief. Have there been points where I wanted to throw it in the compost heap? Yes. Has it made it through every time because of those stunning leaves? Also yes. But I think I've prattled on quite a bit. Hopefully you've enjoyed. And do tell me down below, what's the one big opinion that you had that has now changed since you've become a plant collector or have got loads of house plants, or even just have a few house plants? Do let us all know down below in the comments. I think some of us might be surprised that there's probably going to be quite a bit of overlap, or possibly we might be surprised because we're all very different in our experiences. But yes, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I truly hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.